Hey, Omnibus Collectors, it's Riley, and I'm back for my second installment of Comic Commuter. And so yeah, yesterday we did our first installment, and I talked about the Black Panther and kind of what he means as a character in comics and why he's such an important character and what makes him stand out in the Marvel Universe. And today I'm kind of going to switch gears and talk about some stuff to do with DC Comics as a publisher and some of the stuff that they are doing and have been doing or have announced recently. And I also wanted to touch on the fact that, yeah, I have a cradle or a holder for my phone now so that I can do this hands-free. I know that a few people were a little concerned. They're like, it's pretty unsafe to be driving around holding your phone like that. I assure you that I actually drive around with my phone out like that a lot because I drive around a lot for work, and it was basically the same, but I don't want to make excuses because you were all right. It's unsafe, and from now on I'm going to be using this little phone holder, and I will I think it actually looks nicer anyway. It makes the composition of the video a little bit better if you guys are watching the actual video instead of just listening to me talk, because there's no reason to actually need to watch me speaking, because all I'm doing is just sitting here in my car. Anyway, so today, like I said, I'm going to start talking about DC Comics, but this is probably going to be like a 2 or 3 part video. I'm going to talk about a few different things that DC is doing. I'm going to start today by talking about Hanna Barbera Beyond, and then I'm going to be talking about Young Animal, what's going on at Vertigo, and then about DC Rebirth and what's going on with their mainstream books. But I wanted to talk about the Hanna Barbera Beyond stuff right now because it's something that I am really particularly excited for, because it's something that kind of came out of nowhere, and it's just a really, really cool idea. And it also is kind of something that I thought of before they announced it. I thought about something similar to what they're doing, and so I was just like, oh wow, it's like exactly what I wanted to happen is happening. So anyway, Hanna Barbera Beyond, everyone is familiar with the Hanna Barbera cartoons, at least one of them. Everyone knows at least one Hanna Barbera cartoon, probably the Flintstones or Scooby Doo or the Jetsons or something, but everyone's familiar with them. No matter what generation you're from, you know Hanna Barbera cartoons, because they are what everyone grew up on, no matter how old you are. Every generation had them. I grew up in the 90s, and I watched all the classic ones as they were being rerun on Cartoon Network. And then they would put out new cartoons, like Scooby Doo had like the pup named Scooby Doo, and there was the Flintstones kids and stuff like that. And you know, I grew up with it, and I know my sister, who's 5 years younger, she grew up with it. People of every generation, of every age, know these cartoon characters, and everyone has at least some level of fondness for some of these characters. And they do fall under the WB umbrella of stuff. So that means that DC Comics has been publishing books based on these characters for several years. Mostly it's been the Scooby-Doo comics, and Scooby-Doo Team-Up has been going on for a little while. But we'd also see, like, there was a Batman and the Blue Falcon had a little team-up thing. Stuff like that. So they announced about a month or two ago that they're actually going to be publishing these new comics in a line called Hanna-Barbera Beyond, where they're going to take these classic cartoon characters and reimagine them for a new generation. And like I said, they've done these reimaginings all the time, so reimagining these characters is nothing new. You know, they've done new versions of Scooby-Doo like tons of times. I feel like every few years there's a new Scooby-Doo cartoon with a new version to it, and they maintain the same basic idea of each one of these cartoons with these characters and these concepts, but they just you know, give it modern sensibilities to reach out to, you know, the current generation of cartoon viewers. But the cool thing is they always kind of maintain a level of quality where the people who grew up with those things when they were kids can still enjoy them as adults. They can enjoy these new versions of those characters. So the same idea is being played into the Hanna Barbera Beyond, in which there are 4 different books that are coming out, I guess, in the first wave. If this does well, then I'm going to guess they're going to put out some more. So the 4 books are going to be Scooby Apocalypse, Wacky Raceland, the Flintstones, and the one that I'm most excited for is Future Quest. Those are the 4 books. So the first one, Scooby Apocalypse, written by Jim Lee with Keith Giffen, are going to be writing this new series with art by Howard Porter. So Giffen and Porter actually worked together on Justice League 3000. So you might be familiar with their work together there. Keith Giffen, of course, is most well known for his work with J.M. DeMatteis and Kevin Maguire over on Justice League International from like the 80s and stuff like that. So Jim Lee has designed these new versions of these characters, and they're basically in this post-apocalyptic type, or not post-apocalyptic, it's like this weird like monster horror apocalypse is supposed to be happening, and so the Mysteries Incorporated gang, along with their dog and the Mystery Machine and stuff, they're going through a world where like the monsters are real, and they're investigating and yada yada yada. There's not a ton of information out there, but it's just a really interesting look at the characters, and it's something that they've kind of played with the Scooby-Doo movies that they were putting out, not the live action, but the cartoon ones, where they would have the gang actually facing legitimate threats, not just like guy in a mask, something like that. So they're going forward with that kind of idea, and I'm sure that given that it's Keith Giffen, it's going to have that same level of humor in there. Obviously, Scooby-Doo was always meant to be a funny series. All the shows were always funny. I mean, the original ones had laugh tracks in them. So they're going to maintain that level of comedic value there, and that level of heart that the characters have that really has made them endure through time. So I'm really excited about that one. Jim Lee has helped to design the new version of the characters, as well as writing the new origin along with Keith Giffen. So they have a really good little team on that book to be like, I guess, the headliner of these Hanna-Barbera comics. The second one that I wanted to bring up is going to be the Flintstones. This one's actually the one that I'm looking forward to the least. It still is very intriguing to me, but the Flintstones were just never my favorite when I was growing up, and I'm not as intrigued by the creative team. They've done some good stuff in the past, but I just don't know enough about what they're going to be trying to do with the book to be really intrigued by it. So basically, Amanda Conner, who we know from Power Girl and Harley Quinn and a lot of other stuff, she's a huge name in comics. She has redesigned the Flintstones characters in her style, and we're going to be having them. It looks like Pebbles and Bam Bam might be teenagers or preteens or something like that, and we're going to see them. I really don't know what the series is going to be about, but they're maintaining the same characters. It's going to be written by Mark Russell, who's the writer behind Prez, which was published about a year ago by DC. It was a really great little 6-issue series. He should be coming back to write the next 6 issues, because it's supposed to be 12 issues long. And then he's going to be joined by artist Steve Pugh, who was the artist on both Animal Man, and he did some Swamp Thing as well. So pretty interesting team on there. Like I said, not the one that I'm most excited about, but it looks like it could be a pretty fun book. I'm definitely going to check it out one way or another, but I don't know what exactly they're going to be trying to do with the Flintstones characters there. Then the third one, this one I'm actually really intrigued by, is Wacky Raceland. So this is going to be like the Wacky Races cartoon that had Penelope Pitstop and all those different characters in their cars. It had Dastardly and Muttley and all that stuff. And they're in a place, it's like the races have continued into this like apocalyptic wasteland looking area that's exactly supposed to mirror like Mad Max Fury Road, the style of the newest Mad Max movie, because they actually have Mark Sexton, who is the artist who designed a lot of the cars and stuff for Mad Max, is going to be designing a lot of the stuff for the Wacky Raceland comic. It's written by Ken Pontac, I believe is the name of the guy. He was a writer on, I think, Reboot, which was a cartoon series that on Cartoon Network a while ago. And he also did some work on Happy Tree Friends, which you might know as that little cartoon that was online about 10 years ago with little animals that were in very violent situations. And it has art from Leonardo Manco, who has done some work on Hellblazer. So really intriguing creative team, but more so I'm really, really excited because the concept is just so out there, and they're reimagining these wacky racers, which was such a fun series. I loved watching that series all the time when it was on Cartoon Network and on Boomerang and stuff. It was always a fun one to watch. And now they're kind of fusing that with like the world of Mad Max Fury Road, and it's just going to be something that I think is going to be beyond just something way beyond what Wacky Racers was, and something way out there. Really intriguing. I'm super excited to read that one. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, they've got an interesting team on there, and Mark Sexton working on the book just means it's going to have some really beautiful concepts in there. So I really can't wait for that one. And then the last one, the one that I'm actually the most intrigued by, the one that I had this idea about a month before they announced these books, and it was like, I was watching Harvey Birdman, and I was like, it'd be awesome to see some sort of superhero team book, like comic or cartoon, that has Harvey Birdman, Blue Falcon, Mitor, Space Ghost, like all these action adventure characters from the Hanna Barbera cartoons together on like a team or something like that. So a month later, boom, they drop all these announcements, and one of the books is Future Quest, which is going to be focusing on Johnny Quest and his team of people, you know, Dr. Quest and Ray Spannon and Haji and everyone are going to be out there interacting with all these other characters. So they have images of them with the humanoids, and Johnny meeting with Space Ghost and all these different characters. And I'm guessing that like he's just gonna team up with or meet with these different characters in various issues. I don't know what the actual story is gonna be, what they're gonna be trying to do with the book, but I'm just so like astonished that something that I was like, this would be a cool idea, is kind of actually happening, and the creative team is incredible. It's Jeff Parker is going to be writing with Evan Doc Shaner is going to be the artist on the book. Jeff and Evan worked together on a Flash Gordon series, which was phenomenal. It only lasted about 8 issues, but it was a great little series, a lot of fun. And if they bring that sensibility from that book over to this one, this is going to be one of the funnest things that comes out every month. And on top of all that, Jeff Parker is just a fantastic writer to begin with. I followed him through a lot of his work that he was doing at Marvel. He wrote Thunderbolts for a good amount of time, and that was just fantastic. So if you haven't read anything by Jeff Parker, I really recommend to go look at some stuff. But he's fantastic, and I am way looking forward to Future Quest. Like, that is on the top of my list right now of comics that I'm looking forward to read. And I cannot wait. I'm so excited. And it's not the first time they brought any of these characters to comics. There was actually, I want to mention really quickly, Joe Kelly with, I believe, Ariel Olivetti wrote, they did a Space Ghost miniseries that was out sometime in the early 2000s. You can collect that in a 6-issue little paperback edition. I think, I might have dreamt this, but I think they're reprinting it, so you might be able to get it pretty easily. If not, it's totally worth tracking down, especially if you're a fan of that character. So anyway, that's about all the time I have for this video. I'm going to wrap it up here. I just want to talk about the Hanna Barbera stuff and how excited I am for that, and kind of give a little bit of notes as to why I'm excited, what these books are, why I think that you guys should want to check them out. And yeah, so anyway, tomorrow morning I'm going to be talking about Young Animal, I believe, which is going to be a new line from DC Comics that Gerard Way is going to be starting up. It's going to have a few books by him, so I'm excited to talk about that tomorrow. But hopefully you guys like this video. Check out my links below to my website, my page, and all that good stuff. And watch my previous, if you enjoyed this video, watch the previous issue or episode of the Comic Commuter. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Later.